An advocacy group has hired my IS developer company to develop an information system that will support operations of a bike sharing business. This company needed to manage the hardware involving bikes, dock stations, POS systems, and billing. The system will need to be configured in such a way that it will need to be secure for the customers and staff. The main POS system will require payment card industry compliancy, which would direct the network and server environment. Understanding the requirements for server and network environment helped us move on to how the physical layer of the hardware that bikes will be on and how the workflow process will look like. The goal of the advocacy group is to promote healthier ways of travel using bike systems and dock stations located at different places within the city. By understanding this goal, we learned of the requirements for the station location and potential business use. With requirements in place or set boundaries, we now define the network and server environment. It is always important to understand what the task is and how to apply the technology to that task so that it works and functions the way the customer needs. With requirements, when we talk about the network is a unique environment simply because servers and everything communicate through this, as well as customers and also the staff. When talking about the network, it is important to note that the station will require a firewall that will protect customer information as the stations communicate to the servers for authentication and payment information. The traffic coming out of the stations is minimal, so traffic sizing can be done to save money and resources. This means that we can look for potential solutions where the bandwidth is going to be low, which means cost for that bandwidth are also going to be low. The traffic coming out of these stations, um, because of the locations where these stations will be located, hardware wired network may be scarce. Using a solution that will allow for LTE communication with the possibility of backup and network solutions will be utilized. If we think about it, the stations are going to be located throughout the city in areas where normally there is no building. So if there's no building, there's probably going to be less availability as far as electricity and possible network. Electricity is simple, simply because we can use solar panels, but when it comes to network, we're going to have to look for LTE solutions more than likely. Okay. Utilizing a software-defined WAN solution will allow for easy troubleshooting and overall remote management. Using Meraki will give the flexibility in the configuration and use, and not to mention it allows for cloud communication through cloud deployments such as VMX in an Azure or cloud environment. SD-WAN solution allows the network to be define which WAN options are going to be flowing through. So when we use something like this, and adding the fact that you can manage it through the cloud, it helps for management of the system. So my team will need to be redefine the way that our network equipment will be utilized. Server environment. The server environment will consist of staff software and hardware, which will be managed through a full stack of servers hosted in the cloud. Through these applications, we will limit the access of staff and ensure security is being followed. They will contain servers for authentication, Active Directory for user access control, and application server, hosting the POS software, database servers for data storage and querying. Why Azure? So we decided to go through Azure simply because the way that you can have high availability, flexibility, and scalability. You can modify your environment or have it ready to grow based off of the need. So in case the company needs to be able to provide more resources, or the business is growing so much that they need to add additional um, stations, thus adding more server requirements, the environment is ready for this. We will be using cloud hosted solutions. The station will have two PCs for redundancy. These PCs will take over and manage the POS system to ensure that there's always uptime or high availability. The station will also contain an RFID system that will communicate with the server environment that will allow for asset scanning and overall visual of the bikes. The bikes will also contain a GPS monitoring system to help track the bike just in case the station's RFID system is out, and the company will not charge additional fees to the customers. It is important to note that if a system is down, we need to have backup ways so that the experience the customer is having is not affected. So if we have an additional layer of visibility into where the bikes are located, in case the customer actually does drop off the bike, but the RFID system doesn't pick it up, we have GPS to determine when that bicycle arrived at that location, thus allowing us to cancel any future fees or prevent any fees from happening to the customer. This is to ensure that the customer is happy and is always willing to come back to the services we're providing. As we mentioned before, security. Keeping in mind security is very, very important. For anything regarding credit card information for our customers, it is important for the company to be PCI compliant. This means that there are several requirements that the company needs to abide by, or the environment needs to be ready to ensure that the company is PCI compliant. We will use complex passwords, governance in all user access, network security, DNS, authentication protocols. This would be managed through several areas within our network and server environment. As far as the physical security, we will also contain cameras and GPS monitoring for our equipment. The POS system will need to have programming created so that it manages the different workflows throughout from start to finish to ensure that the customer pays for the services and the services are given to them. In other words, that the program allows for the bike to be undocked and then the customer can use that, and furthermore we can charge the customer based on the usage or time that they've used that bike for. We will use programming languages in both structured and unstructured databases. This is because of efficiency for one and security for the other one. With requirements and overall infrastructure design, we need to implement the solution. The solution will be implemented in the following steps. We will develop the POS applications and configurations because this will allow us to identify hardware specification needs, like how much the servers need as far as RAM, or how much they need as far as space, database as well. We have also created a payment merchant partnership to ensure that when the customers bring in their credit cards, we have a partnership within a company to allow us to be able to charge the customer securely and be able to provide those services to the customer. The installation of physical and network security hardware, we will deploy SD-WAN solutions and cloud managed network as far as cloud managed server environment. Upon that, we also did the installation of the applications on the cloud servers and installation of computers, physical computers with the POS system. We have also deployed a website for customer interaction and be able to purchase the services through there. And then we will all hire and train our staff to ensure that everybody understands the process of our system. Overall, the testing is the final phase, and once we determine that everything is okay, we will move forward to releasing the product to the customer. This has been the overall process for my project. There are many different phases within this project to ensure that there is security and ensure that the efficiency is there as far as cost and also user experience. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think.